revealing an astonishing difference between the source vision and the version of events told by the ABC's Mark Willesee, which starts with 6 rounds of firing. Then, the single warning shot becomes 6.
To me, it appears some of these figures are
They've literally added extra gunshots.
That's phenomenal. So
I fell off my chair when I saw this.
So, an independent investigation into altered audio aired by the ABC in relation into the action of Australian soldiers in Afghanistan has found that there was no evidence of any intent to mislead. Yet again, another organisation here in Australia, funded by Australian taxpayers to the tune of 1.3 billion a year, has investigated itself and then turned around and said, well, there's nothing to see here and you should just accept what we've found. Yeah, we just made a mistake. There was no intent. Here in Australia, the issue is that we're constantly told that we need to accept the findings of inquiries, investigations that are never independent. It's always a matter of these organizations investigating themselves. And there's never, we have a culture in Australia where we don't accept responsibility. Our corporations, anyway, our government entities don't accept responsibility. And unless, unless someone with a bit more power comes along and forces their arm because they're about to get in trouble. So they don't accept responsibility. And we're always just told that we, the public, need to accept their actions and that there's nothing else to see here.
Straight ahead, got my head in the game with the red light on. I'm just waiting for the change. Keep my head down low, let the wind take hold.
Hi, Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope. So, yeah, this report that's come out says in September, I'm going to read from what Sky News said. It says, in September, the Australian broadcaster was criticised for broadcasting footage that was edited to include audio that depicted soldiers firing 6 shots at 2 unarmed Afghani civilians from a helicopter. The footage that I just showed you is from a Channel 7 report, which really broke the whole story open and showed that what the ABC was doing was basically just lying. So just one shot was fired in the original footage, and it was a warning to enemy insurgents. Former Special Forces Commando Heston Russell said, while the original video was aired by the ABC in 2022, Mr. Russell aired the claims in an explosive interview with 7 Spotlight program earlier this year. So after furor over the incident, the ABC removed the 56-second video, acknowledging the error in the video, and initiated an independent inquiry. An independent inquiry which wasn't quite independent because the inquiry was headed by someone, I think his last name was Sunderland, a former long-term employee of the ABC. It's like what happens in Queensland or in all the states. You know, the police have an inquiry and they investigate themselves. The ABC, which is, suckling at the public teat to the tune of $1.3 billion a year, says, well, there's something that's happened here, so we'll launch an investigation. But what do you know? We're going to use someone who's tightly connected to this organization. So during Senate estimates on Tuesday, ABC acting managing director Melanie Klein, sorry if I've butchered your last name, revealed an interim report conducted by journalist Alan Sunderland. He's the one, the not so independent, found that there was no evidence of any intent to mislead by any ABC employee. The review has also found that the stories contained important issues that are in the public interest in relation to the issues of altered audio. They are important issues, I've got to say, but it's important to represent the stories honestly. You're putting out false misrepresentations there, extremely misleading. So the report also said there was no deliberate effort to distort the depiction of the events that occurred, and said it was not a deliberate editorial decision to include additional gunshot audio in order to mislead or deceive. And now I'll tell you, okay, I don't consider myself an expert in any means of audio production, video production, but I have had quite a bit of experience in it. Obviously, uh, I've recorded for myself three, one, two, three, actually four albums. Three were for myself, one was for another group. I was never the audio engineer. I'm not qualified as an audio engineer, and I wasn't the producer. I just helped in the production. I was always sitting in with audio engineers when we were producing the music, and I also wrote a lot of the songs. So I do know a lot about audio, and I do know a little bit about video production. The thing is, with audio, you have to add in all the sounds. And if you've got a video, you've taken a video, you've got the raw footage there. The only way you can get extra, like they've got extra gunshots, is you have to add it in. You do it deliberately. Generally, whenever I've worked with video, whenever something like this, you'd be taking out, okay, you'd be taking out some audio. You'd want to take out some of the background sounds, because you want to have some other things clarified. You'd want more clarity on any vocal, any talking that's going on. You'd want to quell some of the background noises. But to actually to actually have extra gunshots, that is done on purpose. It has to be done on purpose. If you've only got one gunshot, you have to someone makes the decision to physically add shots at that specific time. And they didn't just do it once, they did it twice. Someone has to make the decision to add the shots, to add those noises in, those sounds at those specific times. It is a deliberate act. And yet they've said here that, that there's nothing to see here, basically. Nothing to see. We've investigated and there was nothing done on purpose. I'm calling liar, liar. Their pants is on fire. The problem here in Australia, we've been told, ever since I was a kid, we were fed this yarn that the ABC, we all fondly used to refer to it as Auntie. Because Auntie was the one that you trusted for reliable news all around the nation, whether it was a TV, or when I was a kid, was either TV or radio, you would always get the ABC no matter where you were in the country. And we were told that we could trust the ABC. We could trust Auntie. Now, growing up, now as an adult, I look and see that Auntie is extremely dishonest. Auntie can't be trusted. Auntie has turned into a big lying tart, to be quite frank. Auntie cannot be honest with herself. And as with a lot of institutions, government institutions that we have here in Australia, yet again, there is no accountability. No accountability. It's like we have a culture within government organizations to not have accountability. We have a culture of cover up. We have a culture of investigating ourselves, organizations being allowed to investigate themselves, and there is no accountability. How dare they come across and say, "Hey, we added all this, but it was just an accident. There was nothing to see here." The meaning of doctoring is to deceitfully change. Sorry, I'll keep going on in this article. The great shame from all of this is that for weeks, various outlets have accused journalists of the highest integrity of doctoring material, which is one of the most offensive and damaging allegations one can make against a journalist. The meaning of doctoring is to deceitfully change something intentionally. What Mr. Sunderland's review shows independently is that our team and journalists and executives at all levels did not doctor any material. I'm going to say again, liar, liar, pants on fire. You have to doctor. If you're going to add sounds at specific times when that sound was not there in the original footage, that has to be doctored if your end footage has sounds where it wasn't in the original. That is doctored. It has to be doctored. Going on, it says, so there were mistakes. There was mistakes, but it was not deliberate and it was not doctoring. Like I said, we have a culture of not being held accountable here in Australia. It's disgusting. It's deceitful. We need to change, but I just don't know. It seems to be even worse under the Labor government. Could it be any better under the LNP? I'm really not sure. But it's a culture in Australia here that we need to fix because we see that slippery slope. No one's held accountable. Everyone's just trying to cover up. Everyone is allowed to just cover up their deceit. And we, the taxpayer, $1.3 billion in the hole for it. Okay, so we've got to move on from that anyway, because it just makes my blood boil thinking about it. But here in Australia, let's move on. It's the 6th of November. In America, it's currently the 5th. Today, the 5th of November, 2024, America is going to the polls. America is deciding who is going to be the next president. Tens of millions of Americans have headed to the polls to decide one of the closest presidential elections in modern history. That's what the polls are saying. Personally, it doesn't seem that way. When you're looking from the outside looking in, I would have bet that Donald Trump, there's a lot more excitement for Donald Trump and Vance. That's what it looks like. Anyway, that's what they're saying. So Donald Trump cast his ballot near his home in Palm Beach, Florida, and told reporters he was confident of his victory. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris phoned into a Georgia radio show to urge voters to get it done in the battleground state. Both candidates remain deadlocked in the polls, meaning the result may not be decided today in a stalemate that could spark chaos across the US. Hopefully it doesn't spark chaos. Look, I really do hope that Donald Trump wins the election. I think this, for one, I just think it'll be a lot better for the American people. When you look back at history and what he did last time he was president, I think the United States are in a lot of trouble, and they are in that trouble from what, just my own opinion, because of specifically because of what the Democrats have done. But when you look at financially, it's been both the Democrats and the Republicans that have put the United States in a disgraceful financial position. The debt just cannot keep going the way it is. Look, I think that today is going to go down as a day in history that everyone is going to remember. Whether you're voting for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, whether you're hoping either of them will get in, I personally think that the United States will be better off, especially when it comes to the financial requirements for the United States. I think they'll be better off under Donald Trump. I think that Kamala Harris is just really she's a sock puppet for the Obama government, which is who I think is really calling the shots behind her. He's the one who's really in control over there. So I think this is going to be a day that goes down in history. People are going to be looking back saying this is where the tide changed in the United States. I believe in the Bible, obviously, and I think it's pretty clear that the United States and Australia as well they're not spoken of specifically in the Bible when it comes to end times prophecy. And so I think that the United States and Australia, countries like the UK, we're really seeing the downfall, the decline of these nations. If we're going to hold back the significant decline of Western society, in my opinion, it'll be better if Donald Trump is voted in. I believe that if Kamala Harris makes it and she is the next president, we are going to see the decline of Western civilization accelerate. That is what I think is going to happen. The focus is going to be on that Middle East, on Israel, and we're going to see countries around there. They are really more the focus when it comes to end times prophecy. So we're going to continue to see the decline, but I believe that if Kamala Harris is voted in, we're going to see that decline accelerated. I really believe with all my heart that the United States, the people in the United States will be a lot better off if Donald Trump is voted in once again. However, I'm not confident. I'm not confident. Just a feeling. Anyway, look, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think about the ABC here in Australia. How despicable is their behavior? And do you think that this could have been done, was done on purpose in order to deceive the public? I personally, with my experience with audio and video, I think it has to have been done on purpose, to add a bit more, like a bit more flavor, so to speak, to really amp things up a little. Say, oh, look at all the shots that they fired. Look at this. It wasn't just that one warning shot. Look at all this that they did. You cannot just accidentally add in sounds like that and then say, well, there's nothing to see here. We weren't trying to spice things up. We weren't trying to deceive you, manipulate you. I think it's disgusting. And like I said, Australia has a culture where we don't hold anyone accountable, especially government-affiliated organizations. This is all just my opinion. I'm Jay Fallon. Thanks for listening to the Slippery Slope.
And say it isn't real, and please don't go away. Just give me one more day. What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. What if I could? What if I could turn back time? I'd make you smile again. And if I could unbreak your heart, and we could start again. We could start again. We could start again. We could start again.